Hello, this is clip number 6 of session number 1. And in this clip, we are going to discuss what are bad requirements, what you should not have as a requirement, what you should not do as a requirement management process. So the hardest single part of building a software system is deciding precisely what to do or what to build. So no other part of conceptual work is as difficult as establishing the detailed technical requirements, including all the interfaces to people, to machine, and to other software systems. So no other part of the work so cripples the resulting system if done wrong. No other part is more difficult to rectify later. Every software containing system has stakeholders who rely on it. So the time spent understanding their needs is a high leverage investment in the project success. So if a project team does not have written representations of requirements that the stakeholders agree to, how can developers be sure to satisfy those stakeholders? Often it is impossible or unnecessary to fully specify the functional requirements before commencing the design or the implementation. In those cases, you can take an interactive, iterative, or incremental approach, implementing one portion of the requirements at a time and obtaining customer feedback before moving on to the next cycle. This is the essence of actually agile development. Learning just enough about requirements to do thoughtful prioritization and release planning so the team can begin delivering valuable softwares as quickly as possible. That is the main motto of agile development. This is not an excuse to write code before thinking about the requirements for the next increment. So that should not be done. Iterating on code is more expensive than iterating on concepts. So more and more time you spend or you invest in case of requirement analysis is always advisable. So people sometimes hesitate at spending the time that it takes to write the software requirements. But writing the requirements is not the hard part. The hard part is determining those requirements, documenting those requirements. So writing requirements is a matter of clarifying, elaborating, and recording what you have learned about the system, about the expectations of the client. A solid understanding of a product's requirements ensure that your team works on the right problem and devises the best solution to that problem. Without knowing the requirements, you cannot tell when the project is done. You cannot have the finishing line defined. You cannot determine whether it has met all the goals, business objectives, or make trade-off decisions when scope adjustments are necessary. So instead of hesitating at spending time on requirements, people should instead actually hesitate at the money which is wasted when the project doesn't pay enough attention to the requirements. So the major consequences of requirements problem is rework. Doing again something that you thought has already been done, late in development or after release. But rework is always very expensive. Rework often consumes 30 to 50% of your total development cost, and requirements errors can account for almost 70 to 85% of the rework cost. That is the value of the rework. So some rework does add value. It is not like rework is bad. Some rework does add value and improves the product, but excessive rework is wasteful and frustrating. That should not be done. Imagine how different your life would be if you could not cut the rework effort in half, at least. So your team members could build better products faster and perhaps even go home on time. So creating better requirements is an investment, not just a cost. Shortcomings in requirements practices pose many risks to the project success actually. So where success means delivering a product that satisfies the user's functional and quality expectations at the agreed upon cost and schedule. That is the meaning of success. So now we will discuss some of the most requirement tasks or requirement risks rather. So first important risk is an insufficient user involvement. Now, what do you mean by insufficient user involvement? Customers often don't understand why it is so essential to work hard on eliciting requirements and assuring their quality. So developers might not emphasize user involvement, perhaps because they think they already understand what the users need. So in some cases, it is difficult to gain access to people who will actually use the product, and user surrogates don't always understand what users really need. So insufficient user involvement leads to late breaking requirements that generate a rework and delay the completion of the project or the success of the project. So another risk of insufficient user involvement, particularly when reviewing and validating the requirements, is that the business analysis might not understand, or business analysts might not understand and properly record the true business and customer needs. That is the most important risk. So sometimes the business analyst goes down the path of specifying what appears to be the perfect requirements, and developers implement them. But then no one uses the solution because the business problem was misunderstood. So that is a kind of risk. So ongoing conversations with the users can help mitigate this kind of risk. But if users don't review the requirements carefully enough, you can still have the problems. So user involvement is very important. So insufficient user involvement is very important risk, which you should take care of. Second important risk is inaccurate planning. So many times you get these statements like, this is my idea for the new product, and just tell me when this product will be done. So no one should answer this kind of questions until more is known, until all the details are known about the problem, and all the details should be discussed with all the stakeholders. Vague, poorly misunderstood requirements lead to overly optimistic estimates, which come back to haunt you when the inevitable overruns occur. So an estimator's quick guess sounds a lot like commitment to the listener actually. So the top contributors to poor software cost estimation are frequent requirement changes, missing requirements, insufficient communication with users, poor satisfaction of requirements or poor specification of requirements, and insufficient requirement analysis. So all these things can lead to wrong cost estimation or time estimation. Estimating project effort and duration based on requirements means that you need to know something about size of your requirements and the development team's productivity. So all these things lead to inaccurate planning, and inaccurate planning is a major risk in case of project success. Next is creeping user requirements. So as requirements evolve during development, projects often exceed their planned schedules and budgets, which are nearly always too optimistic. To manage this scope creep, begin with a clear statement of project's business objective. It can be, you can define strategic vision, scope, limitations, success criteria. So all these things should be defined. Evaluate all proposed new features or requirement changes against the references, and the requirements will always change. They will always grow. We have to think about this. The project manager should build contingency buffers into schedules, so the first new requirement that comes along doesn't derail the schedule. So that contingency planning has to be there. In case of agile projects takes the approach of adjusting the scope for a certain iteration to fit into a defined budget and duration for the iteration. So as new requirements come along, they are placed into the backlog of pending work and allocated to the future iterations based on the priority. So you have to look at all these changes in every iterations, and what are the backlog iterations. Change might be critical to success, but change always has a price. So you have to think about this. The next important risk is ambiguous requirements. One symptom of ambiguity in requirements is that a reader can interpret a requirement statement in several ways. Interpretation, perceptions can be different. So another sign is that multiple readers of a requirement arrive at different understanding of what it means. Ambiguity leads to different expectations on the part of various stakeholders. So some of them are then surprised at whatever is delivered, whatever the product is delivered. Ambiguous requirements cause wasted time when developers implement a solution for the wrong problem. So testers who expect the product to behave differently from what the developers built waste their time resolving the differences also. That is a kind of loss for the testing team also. Now, one way to handle ambiguity is to have people who represent different perspectives to inspect the requirements. Informal peer review, in which reviewers simply read the requirements on their own and often don't reveal the ambiguities. So if different reviewers interpret a requirement in different ways, but it makes sense to each of them, they won't find ambiguity. So collaborative elicitation and validation encourages stakeholders to discuss and clarify requirements as a group in a workshop setting. So writing tests against the requirements and building prototypes are other ways to discover the ambiguities. The next important risk is gold plating. So gold plating takes place when the developer adds functionality that was not in the requirement specification document, that is not part of the original requirements, or it was not deemed out of the scope, but which the developer believes the user or the users are just going to love. So that is the kind of addition from the developer's side. It is not part of the requirement document. So if users don't care about this functionality, the time spent implementing on this kind of features is wasted. Rather than simply inserting new features, developers and business analysts should present stakeholders with creative ideas for their consideration. Developers should strive for the leanness and simplicity by not going beyond what stakeholders request without their approval. So customers sometimes request certain features or elaborate user interfaces that look attractive, but add very little value to the product. So everything you build, it costs time and money. So you need to maximize the deliverable or the delivered value of the product. So to reduce the threat of gold plating, this overall concept is called as gold plating because that is a kind of addition which has been done from the developer's side, which is not required. So to reduce the threat of this gold plating, you have to trace each bit of functionality back to its origin and its business justification, business objective. So everyone knows why it is included. And make sure that what you are specifying and developing lies within the project scope. The last important risk is overlooked stakeholders. So most products have several groups of users who might use different subsets of features and have different frequencies of use or have varying levels of experience. So you have different users for any product. So if you don't identify the important user classes for your product at early stage, some user needs won't be met. So after identifying all user classes, make sure that each has a voice. So besides the regular users, think about the maintenance and the field support staff who have their own requirements, both functional and non-functional. So people who have to convert data from a legacy system will have transition requirements that don't affect the ultimate product software, but that certainly influence the solution success. So you might have stakeholders who don't even know the project exists, such as government agencies that mandate standards that affect your system, yet you need to know about them and their influence on the project. So there can be regulation bodies, there can be certification bodies. So all stakeholders you should take care of. Now, some people mistakenly believe that time spent discussing requirements simply delays delivery by the same duration. So this assumes that there is no return on investment from requirements activities. So actually, investing in good requirements will virtually always return more than what it costs. Sound requirement process emphasizes a collaborative approach to product development that involves stakeholders in a partnership throughout the project or the project lifecycle. Eliciting requirements lets the development team better understand its user community or market or critical success factor. Emphasizing user tasks instead of superficially attractive features helps the team avoid writing code that no one will ever execute. Customer involvement reduces the expectation gap between what the customer really needs and what the developer delivers. So you are going to get the customer input eventually. It's far cheaper to reach this understanding before you build a product than after delivery. Explicitly allocating the system requirements to various software, hardware, and human subsystem emphasizes a system approach to product engineering. So an effective change control process will minimize the adverse impact of requirements changes. Documented and clear requirements greatly facilitate system testing, and all of these increase your chances of delivering high quality product that satisfy all stakeholders. No one can promise a specific return on investment from using sound requirements and practices, but the cost of better requirements can be reduced, and this includes developing new procedures, documents, and templates, training the team, and buying the tools. Your greatest investment is the time your project team actually spends on requirement engineering tasks. So the potential benefits from doing all these things is like fewer defects in requirements and in the delivered products will be there. Then it will have reduced it will reduce the rework, development rework, faster development and delivery, fewer unnecessary and unused features, then lower enhancement cost, then very less miscommunication, then you can reduce the scope creep, you can reduce the chaos in the project, then you can have higher customer and team member satisfaction, and products that do what they are supposed to do. So these are the kind of benefits of high quality requirements. Even if you can't quantify all of these benefits, these are real in nature. So after discussing all these things, what are the next steps? What is the next step forward? First is write down the requirements related problems that you have encountered on your current or previous project. Identify each as a requirement development or requirements development or management problem, and describe the root cause of each problem and its impact on the project. So you can do the root cause analysis. Next step is facilitate a discussion with your team members and other stakeholders regarding requirements related problems from your current or previous projects. You can discuss their impacts and their root causes also. Pull your ideas about changes in your current requirements or the practices that could address the new problems. Then you can perform a simple assessment on just a few pages, like one of your requirement documents, to see where your team might have some clear improvement areas, to have an objective outsider to perform this assessment. You can arrange the training on software requirements for your entire project team, and you can invite key customers, or you can invite marketing staff, managers, developers, testers, and other stakeholders to participate in this in these trainings. The trainings gives project participants a common vocabulary. It provides a shared appreciation of effective techniques and behaviors so that all team members can collaborate more effectively on their mutual challenges. So all these are the important steps once you have all the high quality requirements in place. So that is the end of clip number 6, in which we have discussed what are the bad requirements.